So that has taken us up to stage 2. We'll show you the rest of the history in our next segment. But right now, this is the breakaway as we were watching that. Has just started to form. Oscar Sevilla here, Spanish rider in the all-black jersey, rides for a Colombian team. Is in the breakaway. Javier Mejias also here, another Spanish rider. Lachlan Norris, an Australian, and Matt Cook is in there for the United States. None of these riders are a threat to Levi Leipheimer's overall lead, so there won't be a quick reaction to this group, I don't think, and they've made the biggest progress of the break so far today. Those riders are all team cycle challenge as we head into town now beneath blue skies. These are the 4 leaders. We saw them just prize open a small gap moments ago. Oscar Sevilla, Mejias and Norris and Cook. So far no reaction from the field. So there you are, you're up to date, and they've just entered downtown Denver. They've just flashed through the Smashburger Sprint there to start now 6 4.7 mile circuits of the city. What an incredible crowd that's come downtown here today. The peloton are on the right of our picture. They're heading towards that finishing line, while these 4 leaders, Oscar Sevilla, Javier Mejias, Lachlan Norris, Matt Cook, are going out on the first of 6 laps. 7.5 kilometers, because the images here in Denver are being beamed around the world to more than 160 countries. Live images of the first inaugural USA Pro Cycling Challenge, and it has been voted a huge success, Paul. The state of Colorado, they really have got 2 teammates left in front of it at the moment. There is the breakaway. Matt Cook, the only American in it, sat at the back here, number 134. As we now pierce the crowd here, they are excited to say the least, and they have followed this race now for a week around the state of Colorado. We'll take a break. Rejoin us in Denver very shortly. These 4 boys are trying to hold off a real chasing field just now, but it's looking good. They're on the first of 6 laps of the city. 2 minutes 20 is the gap. There's the 4 names for you of the men trying to slip the peloton. Well, as they continue to course round this opening lap, we're looking at the breakaway here now at the moment, but I was just thinking with Tim Duggan, Paul, what a great moment for that young top professional cyclist. He spends most of his life racing in Italy. He comes from Boulder, Colorado. Here he is in his state capital, showing his colours off in this bike race.
Yeah, well, we're now looking there. We've got a little bit of information coming in about the riders. Oscar Sevilla at the moment, his heart rate is just inside of 160 beats a minute. He's generating 370 watts on his bicycle, riding along at 26 miles an hour. Now that is a very hard amount of wattage to put out there, and he really is pushing himself. We normally would see, if it was an easy ride, that wattage would be around about 250 watts. So it just goes to show Oscar Sevilla is giving it hell today.
He's making it an effort because he wants to try and keep this group away and perhaps win a stage if it's possible. But the riders will want the sprinters to get up for that big finish as well. While, of course, how are they going to outwit the yellow jersey of Leipheimer? Today there's a 10-second bonus for the man that crosses the line in first place. That comes off your overall time for the whole week of racing. Now, if Christian van der Velde were to win that 10-second bonus, he started the day 11 seconds behind Leipheimer. He would still need a time gap of 1 second to be the winner of the race. So it's a tough calculation. Well, as we continue around this opening lap, the crowds, is there anybody left in Denver anywhere else? One must ask the question. It's been a long time coming back to Colorado. It's 23 years since we had the famous Coors Classic racing these streets. And funnily enough, we started in Golden today, which is the corporate headquarters of the beer Coors. And Peter Coors himself has seen a lot of this race this week and has been delighted with the way it's been handled. It is lovely to see these big names here, and obviously everybody knows about the Tour de France. The whole podium is here. First, second and third. Cadel Evans, Frank and Andy Schleck. And we've seen those guys in our camera lenses all week. And now the sun is out, it's the hottest day of the week, and the riders are putting on the style on this last day of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. Welcome back as we gaze down on the city of Denver here, and we're looking at the 4 leaders in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. They've just started out on their second lap of 6 circuits of 4.7 miles. Interesting facts for you here. These are the 4 leaders, and the workload, most of it being done by the most experienced rider in the breakaway, Oscar Sevilla, who is a Spanish rider. He's been doing 37% of the work. Well, it looks to me, Paul, they're looking at the workload with Oscar Sevilla putting in vastly more than anybody else. He's feeling he is the strongest rider in the breakaway. He's putting in 37% of the workload here.
Yeah, what's happening here, you can see these riders riding in a line at the moment. What happens when you sit in second position and third and fourth position is you actually save 20 to 30% of your energy while you ride in that slipstream of the rider in front. Oscar Sevilla is a very well-known bike rider on the international circuit. He now rides for this small Colombian development squad, and as he swings off, you'll notice him going to the back of that line of riders. Then he'll pop into fourth position. That allows him to get a little bit of an easy ride for a few hundred meters or so before he goes to the front again to set the pace.
The American Matt Cook, who's got himself on the front at the moment. He's another man that lives in Boulder, Colorado, so he's racing virtually on home soil today, and he's putting himself right in front of live television cameras around the world here. These are the leaders getting on with it. Now we've got Javier Mejias of Team Type 1. It's an American team for the Spanish rider. He's driving at the front. But these boys are getting their tails up. You can sense it. They are performing for a magnificent crowd in Denver. We should see the gap start to fall now.
Well, you mentioned that Team Type 1 squad, Phil. It's a team that actually is in the sport to try and promote diabetes, Team Type 1 diabetes. And in fact, two of the riders in the Tour the race here have actually got diabetes. They're being treated by the doctors. They're doing a very interesting test program.
Yes, and what they're doing is proving, in fact, that you can compete at the highest levels with these inflictions and treat them, and they're controllable. And it's a very, very good way of doing that for Team Type 1 with Mejias in the leading group of 4 riders. But the gap now is down to just on 2 minutes. It was down into up to nearly 2:30, so it is coming back. But will it come back quick enough when they get round to the finish? So don't forget, Sunday night is football night as we watch the Pro Cycling Challenge here. Jason Campbell and the Raiders host Drew Brees and the Saints on Sunday Night Football. That's tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, here on NBC. Now we're back with the action here of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. The same 4 riders. Now, I think there's been a problem with Cadel Evans. He may have had a flat tyre. He's riding in the slipstream of the car. He's not allowed to do that, by the way, the winner of the Tour de France. So he's got to move up smoothly up the outside. This is where it happened. This is moments ago. It looks like a back wheel he's signalling for. Crucial moments these, because the riders speed away from you so quickly on these finishing circuits. He's just arranged his gears. He'll take the weight off his bike and leave it to the mechanic to slip the change in. Takes approximately 10 seconds if you're on the ball. So as Cadel Evans now will be paced back up to the field. He's had a flat tyre, just the head of the field. He's charging along, still under the escort of the riders of Garmin Cervelo. And as the leaders now, Paul, are heading back through to that finishing line, that will be 4 laps to go for them when they get there.
But the gap is now starting to come down because a number of teams who've got very good fast finishers on their squad have started to share the pacemaking at the front end of the pack, and it's come down to 1 minute and 45 seconds advantage. But these guys, they're starting to get a little bit ragged as well now, and it's Oscar Sevilla, the Spanish rider on that squad, who seems to be doing the majority of the pacemaking. He obviously sees this as a final opportunity to get himself into the top 10 in this race.
Well, to the enormous crowd again, they go through what will be the finishing line, but not for another 4 circuits of Denver here. I have to say they're putting up a great show of resistance, these 4 riders, and the boy at the back there at the moment in the 4 is Oscar Sevilla. He's the most famous of those 4 riders, and he wants this breakaway to succeed. But it's the peloton being led up now by one of the most famous cyclists in the sport, and that is Ivan Basso, 2-time winner of the Tour.
An incredible background of being a mountain bike racer, 2 times a World Cup champion. The 4 leaders continue to share the pacemaking. The way they do it is one rider sits at the front for 100 meters or so and then swings off and goes to the back, and then they keep doing that all of the time. You can see now what we always talk, Phil, about an individual victory, but you've got to have a team to get yourself into a race, and that's why the team of Cadel Evans are riding themselves back onto this race.
Well, Tim Duggan is now bringing them through here, the man from Boulder, Colorado, but he races in Italy and he rides with his Italian team. See if we can catch the clock over the finishing gantry there. We can't really, can we, as we pull back? Just to see, it looks as though, what was the time, Paul?
1:25, so it has come down quite dramatically now. It went up to in excess of 2 minutes and 15 seconds at one stage, and now you can see the damage is starting to be done by the peloton and by this team. It's an Italian team, but with an American sponsor, Team Cannondale.
Well, it is so hot now for these riders. Remember, here in Denver, it's coming up towards 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's probably getting up towards its hottest temperatures of the day. These four riders hanging in now, but they've only got 85 seconds. Well, just look at that incredible shot as we see this race rolling to its final close today in downtown Denver. No finer fitting backdrop as they ride beneath the shadow now of the State Building. These four riders are ahead, but for how long as they're going out towards lap number 3. At 3 circuits, we're out on our 4th lap of 6 circuits around here, so we're on the halfway lap at the moment. These are the four riders who brought us into Denver on the road from Golden today, and the gap is still
for a very nasty accident. In fact, all of the team Radio Shack, they probably had all of the bad luck of the whole season thrown into the 3 weeks of July.
They did, because it's an American team, of course it is, and it's had a wonderful season, but it all went wrong in the Tour de France. The last lap by these four riders, they've averaged 45 kilometers an hour. That equates to 28 miles an hour. They're not exactly waiting, are they?
No, they aren't, but in the main field, Phil, I would expect we're looking at speeds in excess of 30 miles an hour, and that's why they're starting to bring back that gap. It was at one stage at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and now the last time check that I've got tickling through is 1:10.
Yes, they've taken another 15 seconds since we started this 3rd circuit of Denver, so they are coming back, and on these wide boulevards here, they are going to spot them very, very shortly from the peloton, and that's all the incentive they will need.
Well, there are other teams too, and it's nice to see the American teams, United Healthcare, are not concerned at all about the reputation of some of the big teams, and I wasn't too far off that mark when I said 31 miles an hour, was I?
No, and that's what the peloton is doing, so that's why they're pulling them back. They're actually riding about 5 miles an hour quicker now than the riders up front. It's going to be pretty tough for these boys at the back of the peloton now, because once you make these sweepers around, it's the guys at the back who have to kick late, and they have to chase the wheels in front.
Tricky downtown course.
Lachlan Norris here, the Australian, taking the four leaders through to do his turn at the front with high revs and then get to the back for a quick breather. The Australian here is hoping this breakaway, of course, will stay away, but he's a brand new professional bike rider, and sadly, HTC High Road will leave the sport this year, so he's going to be looking for a sponsor. So as they slip into the back of the line there for Lachlan Norris, there's the peloton down there. You can't get lost in Denver today if you're riding this bike race, because the crowd are telling you which way to go. Well, looking at the leaders, they've just passed under the finish line banner there, so they've got 3 laps to go now. That's about 14 miles left to race to the finish. We'll get the time check on the line, but at the moment we think it's now gone well inside 1 minute. Here they come. Well, they have shut this right down now. There's been some incredible high-speed chasing, well in excess of 31 miles an hour now. This is the team of Liquigas Cannondale, part Italian, part American. As they race up towards the line now, it's 45 seconds confirmed.
45 seconds is nothing. To put it into perspective, Phil, that's about 750 yards, or 750 meters if you want. And I tell you what, if they could get into a straightaway, they would now be able to see the prey that they've been chasing around all of these circuits in downtown.
Well, I've got to look over the heads of the crowd here, which is proved to be absolutely amazing. What a grand finish this one really is now. The idea of bringing this high-class race to Colorado was mooted by Lance Armstrong, who just picked up the telephone and rang the governor last year, who was then Bill Ritter, and said, what about a big bike race in Denver? He said, I like the idea, let's talk. And this is the result now. It has proved enormously popular. State government has changed since then. It's now John Hickenlooper who is the new state governor. But guess what? He rides a bike and he loves the race.
He has enjoyed himself at this bike race, and of course he's seen many of his residents from Colorado coming to participate in this bike race here this week. But I tell you one thing, Phil, it's not just Colorado that's come here to celebrate this bike race. It's people from all over the United States and a number of people from overseas too.
Well, the feel it, they're just grabbing at anything they can reach out at here, the way they're speeding off these corners and stretching the peloton. Look at that now, as they race for each other's back wheel just to stay in contention. When you think they're all together in a big pack, you think they're all under control, but they're not. The boys at the back don't have the legs now to get to the front. That's why Leipheimer is riding safe and sound, surrounded by his team, just to keep him out of trouble.
Well, you might just notice, just behind him there, the rider with the Radio Shack jersey on, Ivan Rovny, Phil. What he was doing was to stay as close as Levi Leipheimer as possible.
And the perfect ending, if this is the way it's going to be today for this event, the top 5 riders overall at the start of the day are all American. They are 5 of the biggest names in the world of cycling, not just in America.
No, we're talking about guys like Levi Leipheimer, Christian van der Velde, TJ van Garderen, Tommy Danielson and George Hincapie. Hincapie, at 38 years of age, Phil, is in 5th place overall. And this year, I mean, it blows me away to think that George Hincapie has participated in the Tour de France 16 times.
Unbelievable is the word, and next year his enthusiasm is still there. He will make it an outright record of 17 participations in the Tour de France. An incredible record, and I doubt whether it will ever be beat.
Well, you know what the amazing thing is, Phil? He was actually going to retire at the end of this season, and he said, well, Cadel Evans has just won the Tour de France, so I've got to go on for another year.
Absolutely right. He's been on the same team of the 9 different individual victories in the Tour de France, 7 with Lance Armstrong, and then once with Alberto Contador, and this year on the same team as Cadel Evans. Look at the speed now. The average speed holding on there at 28 miles an hour, or 45 kilometers. That's for the breakaway. Let's look at the comparison. Here for the peloton, it's 49, just under 50, and 31 miles an hour in miles. So they're closing in. That's why we're down to 25 seconds. The pack is coming. And we've got somebody shooting off the breakaway there, and that'll be Mejias, I think, who's just gone. A reaction from Lachlan Norris, and then comes Matt Cook and Oscar Sevilla to pick it up. Well, that was a cheeky little move.
A cheeky little move it was, but you know what? These are just the last little throws of this move off the front end of the peloton, because they know they're about to get caught. Now that they've moved all of the cars, all of the bikes out of the gap, now the main field can actually see these guys.
Let's have another look at how that happened here. He went to right, advertised it, right in front of the riser. He wasn't coming from behind them. He just shot off the front. And I think Matt Cook on the right there just looked at Lachlan Norris, said, what's going on? Anyway, they haven't got him back yet.
Well, these guys, Phil, they've just looked over their shoulders. They know the main field is boring down upon them, and they know they're going to get caught very, very smartly. So, Frank just saying that, Alvaro Mejia is about to get chased down here, because it looks to me as if Matty Cook and Lachlan Norris have decided they want to go.
Well, there's the 3 boys who are chasing. We've got Mejias up front. I think if our camera were to pull back, we must be able to see the peloton now. So this is the death throes, if you like, of the breakaway, and his team Type 1, Javier Mejias, who's now going to have to get on with it by himself. Now, that is pretty much an impossible task. He has got to ride on his own, and he's got to maintain an average of 31 miles an hour. So there he is. He's made his move. I think the other 3 will get swept up pretty soon. Now let's just have a little look here. There's the 4 breakaways. Only 2 left, I think, down there now as well. I think Matt Cook may have dropped off the back. Decided it's a hopeless cause. This man now getting the lone plaudits of the crowd here in Denver. In what is a glorious summer's day here. I have to say the mountain weather has been glorious this week, with beautiful, crisp, clean air for the bike race. Well, Infantino was first, Montiel was second, but those 7 points were crucial. Montiel was the winner of the King of the Mountains.
But in the group behind, Christian van der Velde was trying to put a little bit of pressure onto the shoulders of Levi Leipheimer, but so too was TJ van Garderen. On the descent, a large group of 19 riders started to form with some of the big names. The only man missing was George Hincapie.
This was an incredible chase. We went back to Golden after we'd done the circuit of Lookout Mountain this morning, and the riders would not ease up off the pace until in the end there was a breakaway of 4 got clear. Oscar Sevilla, Javier Mejias, Lachlan Norris and Matt Cook.
They built up a big advantage, 2 minutes and 15 seconds over the main field, who were quite happy to let them ride away. But then once they got into town, the crowd and the wall of noise that they were riding through was immense.
Into town they come. It wasn't all good news. Cadel Evans here had a flat back tyre at the most crucial stage of the race. These boys were going round the streets of Denver at 31 miles an hour. Evans had to chase back, but his team were up for it. They dropped back. They looked for their team leader, and they towed him back into the race.
Yeah, helped there by Chris Butler from Hilton Head, South Carolina. As the main field started to get down to around about 30 seconds, all of a sudden there was another very vicious attack, and this came from Javier Mejias.
Merias starting to move away for Team Type 1 to try and give it a nice Spanish flavour on an American team victory. It wasn't to be though. Well, it might have been.